Good morning. Welcome back, everybody. So good to be with you again. As this week, we're going to embrace a topic that is very near and dear to my heart and that of my esteemed colleague Matt Rogers, who joins us again today. So, good morning, Matt. Good to see you again.
Good morning, Bill, and always good to see you too.
Thanks, buddy. Matt and I, we're so blessed with the work we get to do every day. Much of the work we do is coaching. We get to coach salespeople, we get to coach leaders, entrepreneurs, and executive leaders. And most of our day is spent coaching. And as coaches, one of the things we lean heavily on is questioning. And as we like to say, holding the mirror up to someone. It's not so much instructing as it is holding the mirror up and helping people see the things they need to do so they can achieve the things they wish to achieve. And we thought it would be, interesting to talk this week about the power of coaching and how we receive coaching. Because Matt and I know that some of the most successful people we get to work with are those people that love the coaching, that lean into the coaching, that take the feedback and take the questioning and take the challenges to become better, to become great. They recognize that good is the enemy of great. And they recognize that it's only through coaching that they can become better. Too often we work with people who reject coaching, who find the comments we make, find the feedback we give them to be attacking, and they become very defensive in the way they embrace coaching. So today we want to question you guys a little bit about how do you accept coaching? How do you embrace coaching? How do you make it part of what you do, and how do you allow it to affect who you become?
hmm Yeah, absolutely. Coaching is obviously a large part, the majority of what we do day in and day out. So you're right; it is very near and dear to our heart. When I think of coachability, I think of it in a couple different components. Number one, coachability. Are we asking for feedback? And I
Hmm.
think that's a component that's often overlooked by individuals. They get feedback and they can receive feedback. And, sometimes that's where we come in when they get it from a manager or for a leader talking through challenges. But, are we asking for feedback in case, for instance, you might not have one-to-ones with a leader, one-to-ones with a manager. So I wanted to call that point out.
And how do
uh,
you do that, Matt? And for those who aren't involved in regular one-to-ones, who aren't maybe getting the feedback they deserve, because by the way, if you're not getting coaching from your leader, from your manager, you do deserve it. So,
mhm.
how do we help people that way? What about the folks that aren't receiving feedback, or the folks that might not have a manager or a leader to give it to
Yeah, well, that's why we're here. Only teasing.
them?
We love cases like that. But we find it take multiple different shapes depending on the size of the organization. But oftentimes it's as simple as asking and going to your leader, your manager, and show that you're open for feedback. Because when we show that we're open and we're craving it and we request it, it usually follows, and giving them permission, because not all great leaders are good at giving feedback, and especially we see that when it's a salesperson that goes to sales manager or something like that. And I'm going to steal your line, Bill, because we have to throw it in. We use this on a weekly, if not daily basis. You have to coach the people that you have, not the ones that you were or the ones that you want. And I think that plays an integral part in coaching, because as
That's why
coaches,
people don't give it.
yeah, I
Mhm.
didn't need that. I didn't need those tools. Why do we find ourselves in this position? I was never in this position. I wouldn't be in
Mhm.
this position. How did we get here? And then it starts, that the negativity and the blaming. So, to go back to your question, I think it's as easy as asking for it, showing vulnerability, showing an openness. If you don't get it from, the workplace, I see people outside, maybe a professional person in your family, an accountability partner, somebody or a peer, a neighbor, somebody that you can relate to. That's not just going to give you the, oh, you're the best, you're the great, that
Right.
can
Somebody you
share.
can trust, and you
Yeah,
know that they're going to give you honest feedback because they want you to become better.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right.
So,
And
if you
for
don't get
those
it,
people that aren't getting it from their managers, one thing that Matt and I would suggest, I'm sorry, Matt, I think I talked over you there for a second, but Matt and I would suggest, for if it's difficult to ask for feedback and you have somebody that's not extremely gifted at giving you coaching and feedback, use one thing questions, right? Hey, Matt, what's one thing I can do to get better this week? Hey, Matt, what's the one thing I should be focused on this month? Right? When you go to your leader, you go to your manager and you ask him or her, what's the one thing I should be focused on for the next 30 days? What's the one thing I could be doing better? They'll give you feedback. You've given them an easy path to coach you.
yeah, no doubt. So I guess just bringing this back up to 30,000 feet. When we talk about coachability, are we asking for feedback? Then I think the next component that everybody immediately thinks about when they hear the word coachable or coachability, are we able to receive feedback? That's at the core of it. And I think third, not only are we able to receive feedback, but what do we do with the feedback? Do we take action? It's one thing just to be open and say, yeah, I can always improve. Oh, thank you so much. But, how often do you have action items? How often do you rearrange your goals, or how often do you put reflection in your week to not only take that feedback, but do something with it? So are we asking for feedback? Are we open to feedback? And if we are, what are we doing with that feedback? In my mind, are the core components of coachability.
Amen. And that feedback, when you get it, what do you do with it? As Matt says, do you stew on it? And you say, well, that's not really fair because they said this, but that only happened once. And or do you take it and say, okay, let me think about why they might have said that. What do I do with that? When do I demonstrate that? Why do I get that way? Right? Start doing the self-examination and look at why we behave the way we behave. If somebody's giving you feedback in the workplace and you're a salesperson and they're saying, hey, I need you to prospect more, examine why you don't prospect.
Mhm.
What does more look like? That's the other thing. If somebody is giving you feedback, give them the freedom to give you clear feedback. So if they're saying, hey, I need you to prospect more, or I need you to do something more, clarify what more looks like, right? What's more? Where do I find more on a number line? If they say, I need you to do more of that, okay, well, where would I find more on the number line? Because is it, if I'm doing 3, is 5 considered more? Is 10 more? Should I be doing 50 and I'm doing 3? What does that look like? And ask them for some specificity of what their expectations might be as your leader. And then do something with that feedback, right? Do that, because think about what it takes for somebody to give you coaching. If they're giving it to you in a truly meaningful, helpful way, if they're not giving it to you to beat you up, if they're not trying to bring you down and demoralize you or dehumanize you, but they're actually taking the care, taking the time to care and give you feedback in an honest, productive, constructive way. What's that mean? What's that look like? And by the way, if they gave you that gift of feedback, how are you going to embrace it and treat it like it is? Treat it like the gift that it is.
Mhm.
So,
And coachability is one of those things that if you ask someone, "Are you coachable?" When we interview salespeople or other, I haven't come across someone yet that said, "Nope, not at all. That's
right.
not me." Hey, if that's a prerequisite for the job, count me out. I am not coachable. I will
That's
not
right.
take feedback. So to delve into that a little bit, when we receive feedback, if we follow up with "Yeah, but," if there's a
Hmm.
but in there, then we're most likely not being as coachable as we should, because the but gets into excuse making. It gets into lack of responsibility. We talk about the responsibility score of taking ownership of our actions. Yeah, I get it. I hear you, Bill, but it's the economy, or yeah, but it's COVID, or it's our pricing, or it's our competition, or it's the size of our organization. We can create a laundry list of that. So, next time you receive feedback, review and reflect, was it a yeah but situation? Because it's most likely not, you're not as being as coachable as you should. And from my own personal experience, I had a journey there, and I continue to go on that journey, but I definitely was not um, as coachable early in my career. And it was probably more of a pride thing, and something I had to get over, and I still fight with today. I've added different ones to the list, but filler language. We talk about clear, concise language, and we coach people on clear, concise language. And I had a terrible habit. And when I received feedback on that, my first reaction was, "Yeah, but you do it too," or "Yeah, but let me tell you all the words that you use as filler language." And it took a while for me to get over that. Of just, you know what, this is out of love. This is coming from a place of getting better. I'm not perfect, and so this is something that I need to work on. And it was, only then that really opened my eyes. Something as silly as filler language that allowed me to be more open for coaching in general, and not only open for it, craving it, because I know the role that now plays in my career, but more importantly, me as a human being in general.
Who gave you that feedback, Matt?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about it. The guy I'm looking at across the street, and
Yeah, and
I hated it at first. So, but now I'm very open to feedback and I welcome it. And Bill and I, we do joint sales calls every once in a while. And whenever we're debriefing, the first thing out of one of our mouths are, "How do you think it went? What's one thing I could have done better?"
that's right.
Every
And I
time.
think part of that comes out of trust, because I know that Matt's not going to say anything to me just to one up me or try to put me down. And I think Matt feels the same about me. We know there's a genuine love there. And I don't mean to use that word in a corny way, but love is when you want the best for the other. So when love is when you want the good for the other, right? So it's important if we love somebody, and I always tell sales leaders, the most loving thing we could do is help somebody be successful. So if you find that you're a sales leader who's struggling to give feedback because you want to be nice and you want to be liked, and you don't want your people to see you as mean, and you don't want them to see you as kind of crass, right? You don't want to risk them liking you. You'd rather let them fail every day. That's not being loving, that's being selfish. So if we want the good for the other, if we want what's best for the other, we're going to give them that feedback. And if you're not getting that feedback, love yourself enough to seek it out, to really go for it and ask somebody to give it to you, and ask somebody for one thing so that it's actionable. Matt said if you find yourself saying yes but to the coaching you received, probably aren't that coachable. The other thing I would ask you is, if you go to your journal, and I challenge you to say, okay, go to your journal today and write down the last thing that somebody coached you on that you implemented and changed. And if you struggle to find something and you don't come up with something, you might not be that coachable. And that's something you have to be honest with yourself about. If you don't find major changes you made, you don't find those areas of growth, you might not be that coachable. You might just be comfortable, and you might be locked into habits. Recently, a colleague of ours, a friend of ours, Dave Curlin, who's a partner of ours with Objective Management Group, he wrote in one of his weekly blogs about how he thought with his son, and they not fought, thought. They went through to his old baseball coaches and said, who were the best coaches he had? And he realized he had 18 coaches over his baseball career. His son plays college baseball now. He had 18 coaches at some level. And the ones that he thought were the best coaches weren't necessarily the ones that he liked the most. They were the ones that challenged him and pushed him the most. They were the ones that made him better, the ones that drew performance out of him. There was, if they were the top five, there was a group in that 5 to 10 range that might have been the guys they really liked and would love to have over for a family party. And they might have come to his graduation party, but they didn't make him better. And then there was a group at the bottom. There's like, I really don't care to be with them. And they didn't make me better. So, there's very little value there. But to Matt's point earlier, find the people you trust. If it's not your manager, if it's not your boss, find someone you can trust that's a mentor, a friend, whose opinions you trust, and they care enough about you to want the best for you. Seek out the coaching, and then do something with it. And no one ever has achieved greatness without a coach. Last week we watched Tiger Woods make history and do some great things this past weekend at the Masters. We watched him come back. And by the way, teeing it up on the first tee was pretty amazing, considering that he hadn't played golf in 18 months, and a little over a year ago he almost lost a leg. But he showed up and he was better, not because of anything he did physically, like changing a swing or doing it. It was a coach that drove him. and helped him find inner greatness. It's a coach that helped him along the way. And here he is, the greatest golfer in the history of the game, and he's always had a coach, someone he could lean on for feedback, and knew that that feedback was coming from a good place. So find yourself a coach if you don't have one. Be honest with yourself next time you look in the mirror about how you embrace coaching. And I can tell you, if you tweak, if you improve the way you accept coaching just a little bit, it's going to have a dramatic impact on your life. So thank you for your time as always. Hope you have a great week. Hope you find a good coach and solicit that feedback with one thing questions. And we look forward to being with you again next week. So take care. Have a very happy Easter. God bless.